I have a few different things that I'm really looking forward to working on. First of all, the issue of digital data privacy, I think, is a very important one. Obviously, it's front of mind for the committee this year, which I think is appropriate. I was the Republican lead in the California legislature when the California Consumer Privacy Act was passed, which is, as I'm sure most people in the room know, pretty much the furthest reaching piece of legislation that has been taken effect in the United States so far on the issue of privacy. And I am absolutely convinced that we need to preempt this at the federal level. It's too obviously related to interstate commerce to allow a patchwork quilt of 50 different state regulations to exist. That's very destructive to entrepreneurialism, among other things, because the two guys in a garage in Silicon Valley are exactly the people that don't have the legal sophistication to deal with 50 different state regulations when they're trying to focus their energies on starting a business. Also, artificial intelligence is something I'm very interested in. I think I'm the only member of Congress with a graduate degree in AI, and I'm the vice chair of the AI caucus. We're spending a lot of time trying to educate everyone on what the actual dangers of AI are and the beneficial uses of AI. You know, I think when we create a regulatory framework around AI, we have to be very careful because we need to create that framework with the frame of mind of what we're trying to prevent, what are we trying to guard against, what are we trying to protect consumers against. If we don't do that, we risk stifling the growth of an industry that could be an incredible catalyst for the growth of human prosperity and American dominance. And I want to make sure that that doesn't happen and that we get that regulatory piece right. And then the third thing that I'm very excited about is fusion energy, nuclear in general, but fusion in particular. I am co-chair of the Fusion Energy Caucus, and we're trying to make sure that as we approach reevaluation of the Atomic Energy Act, we do it in a thoughtful way that includes fusion, because of course when the AEA was passed, fusion energy was completely unknown. So this is another case where we're going to be creating a regulatory framework. We need to make sure that we get it right, because this is something that could really change the world. And with the events of just the last 12 months, it seems clear that this is going to be something, you know, first of all, that happens instead of just being merely theoretical. Second of all, that's going to happen soon. It's going to happen within our lifetime. So I think we need to, as a government, be prepared. So looking forward to working on all of those, but a wide variety of different interests, and that energy and commerce is just the perfect place for someone like me, because there's so many topics that you can sink your teeth into. So looking forward to working with all of you.
Just like Jay said, you know, the vastness of the committee offers so many opportunities. When I'm talking about energy, let's just look at today. We're going to have a markup on both the Energy and the Environment Subcommittee. And specifically, I've got some legislation that pairs well with the other members on the committee to really get after the permitting process, to start looking at why are we taxing Americans and consumers with unnecessary burdens when it really does not have any impact. And I'm specifically talking about the LNG tax on methane. When you look at producers and you come to Midland, Texas, and you understand that these producers have been doing the things that the EPA many years ago set out to do, we've already been doing those as a private industry, innovative approaches to it. We don't need a tax to tell us how to do that better. Those are a couple of issues that you'll see today. I would say on permitting and ESG issues, the environment that we have created is one where in the last week I've talked to 7, 8 CEOs of not the major companies, but major independent companies. These are market caps of $15 to $20 billion. And these CEOs are saying, we would love to take the profits and reinvest them and recapitalize and do more, but we can't because we're not sure we can get a permit. But we can't because there's no takeaway capacity. And we can't because X, Y, and Z throughout the United States. I mean, I look at this like a third world country. You know, you wouldn't go invest in Yemen, you wouldn't put a pipeline in Yemen because you're not sure whether or not that pipeline is going to be available for your use. Well, the same could be said here. We should be doing things smarter. We should be doing things that allow us to remain dominant instead of outsourcing those jobs to other countries around the world. Lastly, I'm wearing a purple tie today. One of the witnesses on our Homeland Security, also retained a gavel on Homeland Security for intelligence and counterterrorism. And we're going to be talking about border security. Specifically, one of the witnesses unfortunately lost a child to fentanyl poisoning. and how sad that is to look at 110,000 people who lost their lives. And we all know people that have been affected by this. I have 3 teenage daughters, and it's very scary to me right now to think about that substance being introduced into anything that you unknowingly take, and that's the last breath you ever take. So we are going to be looking at this, and I think not just on Homeland Security, but obviously we've already been doing this on ENC.
Well, my battery went dead, Jim. Good morning again. Well, I know that August is from Texas, and they've got oil and gas down in Texas, but we have a little thing up in Appalachia, Ohio, too. So that's something that we're going to focus on, myself, energy, grid security. PGM just came out with a report last week. Wall Street actually had it in their editorial yesterday, talking about the retirements that are happening and the lack of energy security that we're going to have with those retirement shutdowns. So that's something we're going to be focused on. I was chair of the Energy and Utilities Committee in the state legislature for 10 years. So I'm going to take some of those things that we did in Ohio to make permitting easier, to make it easier for folks to do it the right way, but give them the opportunity to expand. One thing that's interesting is with this committee and my assignment, and, I don't want to include Bill Johnson in this too. Bill also represents the Appalachia Basin part of it, but we have Western PA with the Marcellus, and then we also have West Virginia. So we're going to kind of tie that all into a tri-state area when we look at energy and grid security. The other thing for us is telehealth. I just met Kathleen, so that's big for me. It's interesting through the pandemic. I got very involved in it, not only doing Zoom with families of children that were utilizing telehealth, and then the importance that it was, and the difference it made in those children's lives. A family had 2 young sons that were development disabilities. One was pretty extreme case, unfortunately, but they had support dogs. But the mother was in tears with me, sharing her story of driving an hour and a half to Nationwide Children's Hospital, sitting in the doctor's office for an hour, then getting in to see the doctor, and then driving back home an hour and a half. So she had a total of 6 hours tied up with just one child. But now the ability to be at home, communicate, the support dog is there, the environment is secure for the children. So we're going to continue moving forward, expanding that. We do have a bill that we brought out last Congress to keep telehealth. So that'll be a hyper focus for us. I'm pretty fortunate. I represent Central Ohio, so we have some of the largest and most fantastic hospital and rural hospitals and fairly qualified health centers in the state of Ohio. The other big one that we're going to focus on, obviously, is we've got a little company that came into the heart of the 12th Congressional District. It's called Intel. So that's something that we're going to be working with them, but also the workforce development piece for that, the struggles that are going to be there, the housing. There's just going to be a lot of bumps along the way, but we're going to be there with big smiles on our face, and we're going to be working really hard to make sure that we do this right. I know that Jeff is over here from Honda. This has happened in the state of Ohio before, and Governor Rose did a phenomenal job. Honda did a phenomenal job of how you come into a state with this large of a magnitude. So, but look forward. Look, I get goosebumps thinking about it when I'm on ENC. Energy and Commerce is something that we work very hard for, and I feel very blessed and fortunate to be able to be on this committee and serve with a jet fighter pilot and a video maker.